Hey guys, today we're going to talk about how to buy your first rental in 5 beginner steps. Well, before that, let's just imagine this. Imagine if you did not have to work hard every day, um, and find it so difficult to find even a few hours of quality time with your young kids, right? While you make time for the things that you love. Imagine if you did not have to live frugally, find discounted travel, and wait till you're 65 before you can actually cut back at work. What if you could have time freedom, geographic freedom, more time for the things that you love to do with the people that you love to do today and not 20 years down the line, right? What if I told you that this life of freedom is simple? There is a path to it, and it's a simple path, but it's not easy, right? You will have to make some very, very radical shifts to your life to be able to get there. I'm Param, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a radiologist in Southern California. I'm a mom, a real estate investor. I have 300 million in assets under management at this time. And at the age of 41, I quit my full-time position in medicine because I had a real estate portfolio that gave me 6 figures of tax-free income just from cash flow. And it gave me time freedom, geographic freedom. I get to travel the world with extended family. I get to work from anywhere at this point. And I was able to also create a nonprofit to help children with disabilities in rural India, which is our charitable mission. I was able to do all of this 20 years earlier than I had planned because of the power of real estate investing. I then went on to build a community of over 20,000 physicians who we help them accelerate their financial freedom journey so they can do the exact same thing through real estate, right? And all of this is possible, and all of this is to say that this is possible if you have a plan. So before we talk about the 5 beginner steps to buy your first rental, right? And that is going to be the biggest leap that you take. But first rental is going to be the biggest step that you take. Let's talk quickly about why you want to invest in real estate, right? Why I made the shift and why that shift was so impactful. So the first reason is because of the returns, right? It would have taken me 20 years using the traditional stock bond portfolio to get to financial freedom. With the traditional retirement model, I was able to do it in less than 2 years because the returns from real estate can be significantly higher, right? Depending on the strategies that you use. Because of diversification, because we want to reduce, while we're doing all of this, we want to reduce volatility in our portfolio. We want to reduce risk in our portfolio, and real estate allows you to do that. And the third and most important thing is because it is tax efficient. So all the income, for most of us, the income that we generate from real estate can easily be tax-free income if you're using the right strategies, right? So we're getting tax-free income. And for some of us, if we're able to tap into advanced tax strategies, we may also be able to shelter our clinical income from taxes. We have students every year who are sheltering multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars of clinical income from taxes because they're investing in real estate, right? So that's why we invest in real estate. Let's start off by getting you started with your first property. So I'm going to go over my a step-by-step process, like 5 steps for acquiring your first rental. That is going to be the biggest shift that you make, that you will ever make in as far as your real estate investing journey, right? And so for those of you who do not have our free calculator, I'm going to talk to you about how you analyze numbers in these 5 steps. And if you don't have our calculator in the comments, please say calculator. We will DM it to you. But let's start off by talking about the 5 steps, okay? So the first step to acquiring your rental is going to be strategy. That is always going to be your first step. And that is because there are so many ways to invest in real estate, but your strategy should always be personalized, right? Depending on how much time you have available, depending on what your priorities are. Is it cash flow today? Is it the ability to shelter your income from taxes? Depending on how much capital you have available, right? So there are very different ways to invest in real estate. Your strategy is going to be dependent on what your goals are and what your resources are with regards to time and capital. Okay, so that's the strategy. And if you're wondering how to do it, we go over this in our 3-day live event. So join live. It's generationalwealthmd.com/event. And we go over all the different strategies available. So the important thing is to realize that you can be completely passive in real estate. You can be very active and own a short-term rental and self-manage that short-term rental. There are different time requirements. There is a difference in terms of the returns and your ability to tax shelter your clinical income from taxes depending on these strategies, but you pick and choose what makes the most sense for you. We'll talk today about a simplistic way of buying your first long-term rental and staying passive in it. For most of you, that maybe makes sense. For some of you, investing passively in apartments will make more sense. We do that through GW Capital. So if you're looking to invest passively in apartments, hop on to gwcapital.com. That's capital with an A. And you can find out about our latest opportunities. You can get on our priority investor list. So many different ways to invest in real estate. But the most important thing is to identify what makes sense for you. So step number 2 is identifying the right market. A lot of you may want to start investing locally. And for me and my mentor, we started investing out of state, and the majority of our portfolio is still out of state, right? So why would you go and invest out of state? There are a few reasons. We'll just go over them quickly. If you live in a market that is not landlord friendly, if you live in a market that is high cost of living, where it does not make sense, you cannot buy profitable properties, then you would want to go out of state. If you live in a market that doesn't have the right demographics, job growth, population growth, population isn't growing, you're not having in-migration of people, you don't have new employers coming in, you don't have industry diversification. Demographic reasons may be a reason you go to a different market, right? So again, always think about both, consider both. If it makes sense for you to invest locally, that will always be the best thing to do. If it is not an option, or if it does not make sense from the perspective of regulations or numbers, then consider investing out of state. Okay, step number 3, once you're done with that, you will think about financing, right? Ideally, if you're buying a long-term rental, for most of you buying your first long-term rental, you will need to get pre-approved at this point. You will get a 30-year fixed loan. Most investors prefer that. You will do 25% down. That's the sweet spot for getting conventional mortgages. But the thing with real estate is that you can invest in real estate with little to no money of your own. If you are, you can invest with as little as $5,000. Most of us have at least $50,000 to invest. So there are many ways to be creative as far as investing in real estate. If you haven't listened to our podcast episode on this, I talk about how I would invest in real estate if I were to start today and I had only 5,000 versus 50,000 versus 500,000. So hop onto the Generational Wealth MD podcast and take a listen. But there are so many different strategies. Most of you are just going to get pre-approved. If you're buying a single family home, it's going to be a 30-year fixed loan, 25% down. So financing is going to be your third step. Okay, step number 4 is going to be building your team. This is going to be the most critical step. This is where many people falter. This is where you are going to get 2 critical people in your team to help you with acquiring the property and then managing it, right? So an investor agent is someone who works primarily with investors. If you are in our coaching program, in the Creating Generational Freedom coaching program, we also have networks of investor agents for long-term rentals, short-term rentals, and multifamily. And that's because they're going to be a key team player, and they will help you with acquisition. And then they also have all the required connections to connect you to the right broker, the right lender, insurance broker, attorney, and even property managers, right? They're going to help you with due diligence. They'll help you negotiate and close the deal. And so building your team becomes the next important step. If you are looking for that support and you want to compress your timelines and do things right and not learn from costly mistakes, get on the wait list for our coaching program. We open doors for a few short days every 6 months. It's generationalwealthmd.com/waitlist in lowercase. You can hop on the wait list, and that'll give you an ability to get notified as soon as we open doors. So having those critical team members in place is going to be super important. I cannot stress the importance of having the right people on your team. That's going to be step number 4. Now, step number 5 is going to be learning to analyze your properties, right? Running numbers. And you can do this in less than 5 minutes with our free calculator. If you in the comments type in calculator, we will send it to you. We'll send you our free calculator. This is a way where if you're buying a property that is profitable for you day one. This is something I did not know to do when I started investing. So I built out this calculator from scratch, and it's very handy. I use it all the time at this point. I use it on my phone. You can use it on the go. It is an online calculator, and you will need a few key inputs. When you're you'll input the rent, you'll input the property price, your loan terms, expenses, right? Your agent can help you with this. It's easy to find out these things. If you're looking to find out what rents you can get for a property, your property manager ideally should be able to give you rent comps, but if not, Zillow and Rentometer are other locations where you can find those numbers. They may not be as accurate as what you can get from an investor agent, but that's where you get all that information, you plug it in, and the calculator spits out how much cash flow you're going to have in your pocket after you factor in things that I did not know to include, such as how much you're paying your property manager, such as vacancy, right? You're going to have, maybe a month here and there where, between tenants where the property is going to be vacant. You have to factor in repairs and maintenance. I didn't know to do all of those things. You will learn to do it using the calculator. So make sure, if you really want to figure out if the property is going to put money in your pockets, and I know so many physicians who have rental properties where they are feeding the property every month, hoping that, rents will go up and hoping that the property will appreciate. That's not what you want to do. Use the calculator, analyze and find profitable properties from the get-go. Okay. And if you drop in calculator in the comments, we will DM the calculator to you. And that's it. That's all you need to get started. Now, there are other things you will need to know, like accounting and how do you protect your assets, as far as structuring LLCs. All of those things are things you will need to know, but these are the 5 basic steps you need to know to even get started. I actually whiteboarded this out for you so that you can take a look at this just to see how this works. But these are the 5 critical steps. You start off with strategy. Strategy is really, really important. This is figuring out what makes the most sense for you based on your resources, based on your goals. Then you pick a market, and that could be local or out of state. Then you think about financing, how you're going to, where the capital is going to come from, what kind of lending product, and connecting with the right lender. Then you build your team. That is going to be the most critical step. An investor agent in your corner is going to be your guide who helps you get to the next, negotiate and close on the property, and even manage the property going forward by connecting you to the right people. And you really need to learn to analyze property, so you're buying a property that is profitable day one. There you go. Those are the 5 steps. I hope you found this super, super helpful. If you're ready to make radical shifts, I hope this content really helps you acquire your first rental, because that is going to be the biggest step that you are going to take.